We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new, but there is.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist, Lolita Robinson.
Hi, sweetheart. It's good to see you.
Welcome to another day of Joy
Welcome
in My
to
House.
another day. I'm excited. We've got a really special show, and I'm glad to be here. And how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel very blessed and very just honored
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of an organization or a show like this where we get to share the work that God has done in our lives and continues to do.
That's right. And then you kind of broke some bad news.
Yes,
Yeah,
I have some
what's
bad
going on?
news.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour, the actor, was found dead in his apartment of an apparent overdose.
Oh, boy.
So our condolences go out to the family and friends for Philip Seymour.
And I was just asking, people, there's just so much hurt. We were just listening to a song that was playing Trust in God. I mean, really, God gives us these talents and he wants us to inspire and to be, to use his gifts. But there's more to life than just that. It's, finding our place to,
I agree.
know,
Like Pastor was saying, finding our place.
finding our place, using our talents, but knowing that God is there. And, no more artists dying. No more artists dying. My heart is really heavy. Really, really is. What a great talent.
Yeah, multifaceted, actor.
Well, that's why I hope our show, and the other shows that are out there that are touching and reaching people with inspiration. I know you go through hard times, but we try and bring guests on to share their experiences, even though it's been hard, that you can find your place in your setting and that you don't have to do this alone. So hopefully that's what we're conveying. And
So if you're out there listening and viewing, we want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house. You can find us on Facebook, /Joy in My House. You can also find us on Twitter. Send us any comments or questions via Twitter on twitter.com /Joy in My House. And if you're just listening to us, you can stream us live on any mobile device on Ustream.tv and iTunes genre R&B. We had a great show last week. I do want to touch on Bill May.
Bill May? Yep. Willie Mays' cousin.
I kept calling him Bill Mays.
know you
Bill May is the vice president of Project Cuddle, which they have a great event coming up
That's
February 8th.
Are you going to go?
I have not purchased my ticket yet, but I
Okay, you
have.
ready to go? I'm going to go to the one at the
Santa Anita Parkway.
Santa Anita Parkway. Okay.
And John Stamos will be hosting it, and they have Lisa Vanderpump's going to be there as one of their
that's
special
great.
guests.
Okay.
So hopefully it gives enough funds and raises enough money for them to continue their amazing organization. ProjectCuddle.org is where you can find more information.
That's
You're not
right.
going to want to miss it. It's at the Long Beach Hilton.
I think it's beautiful that we are having shows that are reaching out to children. And I
Yes.
always say that's God's heart is his little ones. Because they are our tomorrow, and they remind us what life is all about, trust and innocence.
Yeah, that
So,
trust and innocence.
Yeah,
That's
it was
right.
a good show.
So we have an amazing show for you today. Amazing. We have a special guest by the name of Beverly Todd. She's an American actress, a writer, producer, and just to come to find out that she also is a comedian.
Yes, man.
So-
I'm telling you, it's beautiful to meet her. She's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Got a sweet spirit, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she broke into this almost impossible business to get into.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you guys to stay tuned. Beverly Todd's going to be on next. Again, find us on Facebook /Joy in My House. You can tweet us directly on twitter.com /Joy in My House. We'll be right back. This is Joy in My House.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
In the early dawn of day, slips away. A peaceful and humble man. He seeks his Father and prays. He is not God, so they say. He doesn't really hear. That's not so, he's just a prayer away for those who draw near. Emmanuel from Galilee. Emmanuel set the captives free. Emmanuel died on Calvary. Emmanuel, he died for.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show. I'm joined here by my co-host and author of Shaped by the Master's Hands, Lolita Robinson.
How are you? And I said we've got to mention the Super Bowl today.
We have
Okay, even though your teams are not in there, that's no haters.
those of you who are watching the Super Bowl, have a safe and happy Super Bowl day. Be
That's right.
careful. Don't drink and drive.
That's right.
But we have our in-studio guest today by the name of
Yes.
Beverly Todd. She's an American actress, writer, and producer. And I found out today, comedian.
Yes.
Very interesting. Welcome
yeah.
to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I always like to mention how we met our guests and how they joined this show. We met you through Deborah Hayter.
Right.
She is our publicist and a publicist to many other actresses and organizations. And she's always working very hard. And we had an opportunity to meet through Children Uniting Nations,
Right.
which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
But we always like to introduce our guests and
Yes.
get to know our guests a little
Yes.
bit more.
I'm dying to know how, in your life, how you became an actress. Did you always want to be one, or?
Actually, secretly, my parents exposed me. My mom exposed my sister and myself to the arts, but for cultural purposes, not to become one of those people that we were watching.
Oh, wow.
We were raised in I'd say, middle-class African-American family, and, my family came from the South. And so in my mother's mind, the way to become an upstanding citizen and a contributor and all that good stuff was to be a professional person,
Right.
Like an attorney or a judge or a lawyer or a teacher. Never entertainment.
Oh, my goodness.
No, they had a fit.
Would you end up in Chicago, New York?
I in the Midwest,
Oh, okay.
and my mom just felt, and my whole family were appalled when they found out that I actually wanted to become one of those people that I had been watching.
Oh, my goodness.
I wanted to become an actor, and that was not going to happen as far as my mother was concerned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How
How
interesting.
about your other siblings? Did they become
I have a sister.
doctors?
She didn't. My sister went to Bowling Green and became a speech and hearing therapist.
Oh,
Wow.
boy.
And she was at
Beautiful.
UCLA and became one of the department people there, one of the department heads there, in speech and hearing, an audiologist.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Congratulations to her.
So she held up that part, so
Okay,
I
she
could go
did it
off
for
and
you?
become an entertainer.
So she took the heat off you.
She took
Well, I wanted to touch base on one of your big breakthrough performances, and that was a performance in London. It was a London production. Let's talk about that.
Oh, are you talking about No Strings? Or are you
Yes.
talking about the thing that I went over to do with the Actors Studio?
With
How
the
about
actors.
all of it?
Okay.
Yeah, let's-
Yeah, and I
Okay.
want to know how she got there. How did you
Okay.
got past your mom and them? I want to hear that.
Okay, well, you know what happened? I was offered, there was a community theater, and someone from New York saw me. People used to come there from New York to see new talent. And I was offered a role in this off-Broadway show called Deeper the Roots, a revival. And they said, if you can get here, you have a job.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
It was my second time going to New York to audition. The first time I had never been on a plane before.
Oh, boy.
Just the idea of a plane staying in air.
Yeah, just concept.
I couldn't, and I still can't comprehend that.
That's right.
But at the time I was terrified. And I didn't sleep the night before, needless to say. In fact, I don't think I slept I don't think I slept when I knew that I was going. I don't think I slept since then. I think I was awake for the next 2 weeks. Got there, and
That's scary. I'm
it was
sorry.
so
It's
scary,
gotta
and I was
be.
so young, and
That's culture shock. New York too.
culture shock.
Everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I got there and I performed terribly. I looked over at the person the musical conductor who said, talk them into flying this girl to New York. And I looked at his face and I looked at all their faces and I even said, what the heck, girl, you sound a mess. That's what I was saying to myself. So that was my first time auditioning. I just didn't even know what the process was. But I didn't have to audition for this because the person saw me in the play and they said, you've got this role. So I got to New York and I did the
And
role.
you know,
and
they
that's
can
what started.
see. They can see. They can
Yeah,
see
they
past
can.
nerves and
They
jitters.
can.
They
They
have
can.
I'm surprised at how casting directors really. I remember my son and I were watching how they casted Superman.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to think, okay, I like Margot Kidder, but I didn't think, but after I saw all the other people that they had auditioned, she fit that role.
Yeah.
So they know.
Yeah, they know.
They could see through the nerves and the jitters.
But sometimes if you're not what they were looking for, if you do something that's really exceptional or extraordinary, they'll say, well, that character could go that way. But that first audition,
you have to
there was
sing?
nowhere my character could go but home.
I can see what the comedy
Okay. No. This is send her home. Next.
Okay, now it's the comedian showing up. Okay. She said she's really quiet and she's beautiful. I'm not just saying that. You really are beautiful.
Thank you.
You really are. Your skin tone, the whole thing.
Thank you.
And so, now the comedian's coming. I love it.
Well, I wanted to talk one of your major breakthrough roles off Broadway. What is one that you can remember and really was significant?
Off Broadway, I don't. It's just once you get into New York and you get into the whole working part of New York, being an actor, and when you do the play was a hit. So when you're a new person in New York and you're in something that's a hit, there's a little buzz about your performance in New York.
That's
and
big.
so it kind of leads to other things. I got a commercial agent in New York. That was my first agent that I had, a very heavy-set woman, freckles, beautiful. And she and her husband was George Wilshire, who used to be with Pigmeat Markham. That's going way back. Her husband was a famous comic from back in the day, really back in the day. And she was this jovial woman. They had these talking parrots. What do they call the kind of macaws, but the white
macaws,
ones?
yeah.
With
Real ones?
Real ones. And they had regular parrots, and they all talked like Ernestine talked to her husband. All they did was swear at each other. So it'd be, you big blankety blank blank, get your blankety blank over here. And I'm like, what? So while the whole time you're in their house or their apartment, you hear these birds, come on over here, you big It was hilarious. Okay, so that was them. She was my commercial agent.
Was that your first
My first commercial
act
agent.
when you got up there on the stage? Did you tell that story?
I didn't actually. I never told that story.
You told me you were looking for a new show. You got something to start out with.
You're right.
There's some
You're
material right
You're
there.
right. You're absolutely right.
That's
yeah.
funny. I wasn't even there, and I'm laughing.
Yeah. So that was my first agent, and she was really good. And I started getting commercials. I was the commercial queen in New York. I did a commercial for a Prel shampoo, a blonde with this beautiful flowing hair, and my voice is going, I love my hair in the sun. I love the way it glows and shines and sparkles. And I'm like, me, and there's a woman on camera, okay? Yes, I said, people would only know this,
Right.
So you're a voiceover. You were doing voiceover.
I was doing voiceovers.
That's amazing.
I also
you are
did
funny.
on
This
camera.
is killing me.
I also did on camera. And I sang this Tide commercial. I'm not going to sing it now because I have a little cold and will sound like
That's
crap.
okay.
But the lyrics are Tide hides in collars, dirt hides in collars, dirt hides in cuffs. But you just can't hide, blum, blum, blum. From invincible Tide, blum, blum, blum. Tide, invincible Tide. So that was my voiceover. That was my singing.
I'm telling you, people, she has come to life. I'm not kidding. She's been quiet
Yeah,
over
she's
in the
very
corner.
somber.
Oh my God, you're killing me. This is so funny. Oh,
So that was my introduction into this entertainment business. But my mom relaxed, and she saw that I was working, I was getting work, I was getting jobs. She relaxed and supported. She really became
Good.
one of my biggest supporters.
But you know what? Okay, listen, I don't want to get into color and stuff, but a woman of color in that time,
Mhm.
it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like your mother obviously gave you guys a message. You can do it.
Oh, she did. She did. She just didn't want me to do that.
She didn't want you to do
But
that.
after I started doing that and she saw that I could be
How
successful in that, she
wonderful.
supported that.
She
Yeah.
had to give you something because
She
you just
did.
don't get on a plane and go to New York. And
My
just,
mother gave me the strength to overcome anything.
Okay.
I didn't know it at the time, but I watched my mother, who was really, really a strong woman. My mother was like, for instance, we were in Cleveland and we came up through a time when there were no firsts, there weren't a lot of firsts. My aunt was a person who was hired, the first black person that was hired at the courthouse, the Cleveland courthouse, and won some muckety-muck position. I don't know what,
How interesting.
My mother was the first black person who was hired at the Labor Relations Board
Go ahead,
where we were,
girl.
because
Go ahead.
she just, she was just that smart and that determined, and she had something about her. And that's what I got from
That's
my
what
mom.
you, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Van. That's very, no. And I want to give kids out there today, you can do it.
You can.
It's hard, but you can do it.
It's
You
very
can find
hard.
your way.
It's very hard, and no one said it was going to be easy.
Right.
Nobody said it was going to be that hard, but it is sometimes. But you have to know that there's something within you to call on and help you to go forward.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is amazing because you did get a part in a role that was directed by Sidney Poitier.
Oh, yes. Well, that role happened after I had returned from London, England. Richard Rogers, the very famous Richard Rogers, hired me to star in No Strings. It was a revival of No Strings. Diane Carroll had done it on Broadway.
Oh, boy.
And there was a rumor. I was in dance class, and there was this rumor that this, person, this role, Diane Carroll's role was, they were looking for, and I'm like, interesting. I did not have an agent at the time. I didn't have a theatrical agent. I had my commercial agent, but a commercial agent at that time could not submit for a theatrical.
Can they do it now?
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
But I called this woman Joan Scott, who was an agent at a very prestigious agency, and I always wanted her to represent me. So there was my chance. I called her. I said, "Can you please submit me for this audition for No Strings?" And she did.
That was a huge show.
It was, yeah. I mean, she didn't even know what I could do, but I had been in contact with her before, and there was just nothing really for her to submit me for, or to handle me for. But she did. I got the role.
Wow.
And that
How
was
long was that process, Beverly?
the auditioning and the
Yeah.
getting the role. I found out about it maybe a couple of days before, a week before. I found out maybe a couple of weeks before, and then I had to find somebody to submit me. And I thought about Joan, called her. I would say a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus the going back, the callbacks, and the whole.
Actually, yeah, I auditioned that day, and I think the next day my agent called me and said, Richard Rogers wants to hear you and see you.
Wow.
I'm like, okay.
Okay. Were you nervous?
Oh,
What do you do when you get to a door that huge?
I think I must have been, I like to call it excited as opposed to nervous.
like
And I
that.
tell young
Okay.
people to change nervous to excitement because that's what it is. The adrenaline is pumping and you're just very excited about going.
Right.
And I think
I like
that's a more
that.
positive way to go
It
into
is.
something as opposed to the other word. So I was really excited and I was a little scared. Richard Rogers, I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
But I did well. Apparently I did well because I got a call later on that afternoon that I had gotten the show.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is awesome.
So that was really cool. Yeah, and I went to London. They made all of my costumes in London. All the same costumes that Diane Carroll had worn on Broadway. All those expensive furs and all the stuff.
What does it feel
Back in the
like?
day, they weren't trying to pinch pennies because the economy was good.
Yeah.
American money abroad meant a kazina for $1 and $1 say equal in another country would be 10 or 5. I mean,
Right.
the exchange was just amazing. So they did it without giving any energy to the expense of it. They
Right.
just were going to make this, and okay. I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it because that's my feeling, and I can have it.
That's it.
The person that was hired I won't say his name, but anybody can look it up. The person that was hired to play opposite me looked too much older than me, I think, to make it believable. There's a fashion model who was in love with a writer, but the writer had to be somebody that
She
the
would really
fashion
be
model would
attracted.
really be attracted to.
Right.
And I know you can be attracted to somebody that doesn't necessarily look the
But it's
part,
gotta
but
be
there's something
something.
inside,
It's gotta be something,
But he
yeah.
was in another play there. He was playing this mountain strappy guy. And so to play a writer to this model, I mean, for me, it didn't work, but I acted like it did. And I got great reviews. I got sick. Okay, who opens a show in London in the dead of winter? Who?
Wow, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
well,
right.
they did.
They did. Okay.
And I went to London. I mean, first of all, I had a warm winter coat, but I bought another coat in London because it was so cold and damp
Yes.
there. And it got to me the week before we were open. I got sick. I
Oh,
got
boy.
really sick, and they had doctors coming in and out of my house. I had been to the house there for but opening night, I was on that stage. And I
Ready to
got great
go.
reviews. They said, "Here's a girl to
Wow.
warm up London's winter."
Oh,
Oh,
that's beautiful.
Great
That's
tagline.
beautiful.
Great
Yeah.
line.
That's the old line. The show must go on.
Hello.
You
Yes.
do,
And I went on and I did really well. So that was really good. However, it was not a big success. It
Because-
kind of limped along for a few months and it, ultimately closed. Yeah.
You think it had to do with the?
I think it had to do with the chemistry.
Yeah,
Chemistry
you have to-
means a lot.
It does.
It does.
As an audience,
Uh-huh.
I've been in a movie and seen go. I just don't see her with him. And,
Yeah.
and that will turn it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
it
You have
very
to
well do
believe
that.
a love story if it's a love story.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think is fundamental as an actor to know about the character he or she is
That's a
portraying?
good question. Go ahead, dog. Listen to you.
Okay, there's no, hello, I'm impressed.
I am too.
I want to thank my cousin Robert Acosta out there.
Okay,
We sat
Robert.
down and he gave
did.
me he gave me some
Robert,
really
that
good
was-
pointers.
Oh, good.
He was very interested in your career. And
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Well, you're
Yes.
good too, sweetie. But I love
Thank
that
you.
question, so I
Yeah,
want to hear.
okay.
Okay.
There are two answers. There are two schools of thought with acting. Some study and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
The people who don't study, who have had successful careers, like a Paul Newman, for example, there's something with them that allows them to say things very believably, and you believe them. And some people do act without ever studying. It's something they just feel and learn innately, or just from being in the industry and just learning this, that, and the other. The other school of thought is study. I've done both. When I first started acting, I was acting through not study, but from doing it.
Yeah, you.
So
had
I
to-
learned by doing,
Right.
which is one way. However, when I studied, I learned another way, which was beyond what I knew, because I used to pretend to cry. Now I know
see.
how to cry because of the moment, and so that the tears are real. In fact, that off-Broadway play, my first play, I didn't know anything about crying, so I would try to go in the corner and go, try to make myself say, all of that stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And sometimes I just make myself sick from trying to cry, So I do know the difference. And I personally, it's a preference. And I personally, I prefer how I work now, because I know what I'm doing. The body is an instrument, just like a musician learns a piano. It's an
Right.
instrument that he plays. A flute learns a clarinet, or the flutist, whatever they're called. And the saxophone player, they learn to play the instrument, all the notes, all the trills and everything. That's how our body is, I feel. And I feel we have to learn how to make our body respond to whatever emotion or action it needs to respond to believably.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, who would have thought to use the whole body in terms of to learn how to? I look at actors on TV, on movies, and just an expression. And on movies, you have to pull it back, don't you?
You do.
On Broadway, you have to be a little bit
Yeah.
more. So, in order to do the movies and to have that, I think it would help to have someone help you to get in touch
Yeah.
with those type of. That's a lot of skill.
It is a lot of skill. And it's interesting that you just said what you said, because when I did my first film with Sidney Poitier, who was my mentor, he said to me, he called me Slim. He said, "Slim, just pull it
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
Just pull it back." That's all he had to say to me, and I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Because I have a son who did drama, and it has to be out there, and he had a hard time when he went on, for that very thing.
Yeah.
So I like what you're saying. You're not putting anybody down who's decided not to go to school.
Right.
But it's like anything else. Training, I think you can't beat.
To
You
me,
can't
it's
beat.
just, there's
Hone
some
your
people
skill.
who play musical instruments who are gifted, and they just have that, and that does happen, and I take my hat off to them. There are kids who can play, like savants can play. I mean, they've never studied anything. They just have this talent. and I applaud that as well. It's a preference. I just prefer that I like that I've studied.
Well, your work proves it.
And that's what we're going to talk about. Your movie and your TV credits are well known. But I wanted you to share with the audience and viewers out there, which character have you related to the most throughout your film and TV
That's
career?
like asking a mom, who's your
Favorite
favorite child?
Okay.
So you do have.
And now, don't get
You
me
don't.
wrong,
No,
there
you
are some moms who have a favorite.
Yeah,
You're
not
not
a healthy
supposed
one.
to.
Not a healthy one. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes there's just a child that there's just something different or unique, and you do care about them more. You shouldn't, but it's human. So I can't answer that question. I can tell you several roles that I have loved. I love I love to work, and I love the whole process of developing a character and bringing it
How
to
do
life.
you do that?
Again,
Yeah,
it's
thanks, Bob.
study.
Yeah.
You take a character like you say, okay, this is a
Okay.
woman who is going through something. So you have to figure. And somebody. Let's say a hooker, because people often have a hard time. Why are you playing a hooker? Blah 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 blah. Because a hooker's life is just as valuable.
Hello.
And she has gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. And so what I like to do is I like to explore the character to find out why she's that way and applaud that, so that when I play her, I'm not playing her with disdain and saying, I don't like her, I don't want to be no hooker.
Or
no,
being
I want to
over
be
the
this
top.
character.
'Cause
Right.
Not everybody chews gum and
Exactly.
swings purses. I mean,
Exactly.
you get real with the real character. Yeah.
And a lot of times when it's sometimes it's not in a script. So as an actor, you have to create a life for that character. You have to make up the story about that character and why they do what they do, so that when you act it, we may not know your backstory, but we see the result of it.
Right.
Makes a big difference.
So that's what they mean by when a critic goes, the character wasn't developed for me. The characters weren't developed. That's what they're talking about.
It could be that, or it could be in the writing. Because if
Okay.
the writing's not there, there's nothing you can do. I went to see a play the other night that I had to leave because it was painful, and if the writing is not there, and there were some good actors up there, if the writing's not there, there's nothing you can do to make
It's
it
the
better.
foundation.
Oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about your first nomination for your NAACP award nomination.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Boy,
about that.
You hit that out of the park.
The first award that the NAACP, I think I got for the first person that did a role of color.
Yes.
What was it?
The Actress of Color was a PBS TV special.
Called.
I have 6 characters
Yes.
in search of an author.
Yes, Pirandello's 6 characters in search of an author.
Oh.
They had never had an actress of color to play the stepdaughter.
Oh.
And I played the stepdaughter. Andy Griffith played my father. Who directed? Stacy Keach directed
my
it.
goodness, how
Jim Keach
reach.
was the son in it.
That's his Stacy's son, Jim? Or
his
father?
brother.
His brother.
Yeah. And the Julie Adams was the young
Jeez.
woman in it. It was a brilliant cast. I was great.
Oh,
I was.
Why did
know?
you? Okay, why do you have such a fond affection for that? Why? in which
Because
way?
I felt so honored to be in a piece. As a black actor, we don't always get a chance to do those kinds
That's
of
right.
roles.
That's right.
That Pirandello, I mean, come on. All that play was written 1,000 years ago, not that long, but a long time ago, and no other actor of color had ever played her. So I was just so thrilled that I got this juicy, wonderful role with these wonderful actors and being directed by Stacy Keach.
That's a miracle.
For PBS. Come on, it was great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. That says a lot.
Yes, it does.
Your mother must have smiled many
She
a time.
smiled. My,
I
honey, my
bet
mother
she
stopped.
smiled.
She never stopped grinning. Okay. Okay. She grinned and grinned and grinned.
Well, that was only your first nomination, because you got a second and a third nomination.
Yes.
You won the People's Choice Award for Roots.
Yes.
That's right.
You played opposite to a starting role with Richard Pryor.
Yes. Yes.
What was that? Is that where your comedic sense took off?
No, actually, I was doing stand-up then.
You
and
were.
I told Richard I was doing stand-up at the Comedy Store. And he said, I'm going to come and see you. I said, no, don't come yet. I'm not ready. I'm just learning. I'm just practicing my material and stuff. But anyway, he came anyway. And he gave me a nod of approval. He knew, he said, well, keep working.
Yeah, yeah. Don't give up the day job yet.
Don't stop acting, but keep working. You might have a chance.
Oh wow.
Well, let's talk about some of your more recent films, your Oscar award-winning films.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you've had a rich career, girl.
I
This is
have.
awesome.
You know, I mean, I
That's
feel very
beautiful.
blessed that I have had the opportunity to work with the names that I have worked
Yeah,
with.
and you know what's so beautiful about it? The way it's not like name dropping. I mean, it's your life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really, it's very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. I didn't get an award for this. Okay, let me just say this. All of my films, all of my big budget films, I always wanted to get reviewed. I wanted Rogers and Ebert. Remember Roger Ebert and what was
Yeah.
his partner?
Um,
Them. I wanted them to
Roger and
review
Ebert,
me.
that's what-
Was
wasn't
Roger Ebert was the one who did, yeah, Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel.
Siskel and
Yes,
Ebert.
because Roger Ebert was the one who was still living.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the two of them, I wanted them to review me. Review Beverly Todd. Review me. Nothing. Crash, nothing. I said surely for Crash still,
Crash,
because
yeah.
I didn't
That
even look like me. I didn't think. When people say, "Oh, I saw you in Crash," I say, "Oh no, do I look that bad?" Okay. I for moving, I thought they were, because I thought I did a really good job. Clarice Hart, I was Dora, the mean Jamaican that Whoopi knocked the crap out of. I said to Whoopi, she had to hit me, and she had on her diamond ring. I said, Whoopi, if you hit me, I get your ring.
There you
She
go.
said, okay. Her hand came nowhere near my face. Okay,
She was
you
not
coulda
giving up
rocked-
that
you
ring.
could- No, you could have been a tractor, but you know, 'cause the camera,
said
the,
I
way
ain't crazy.
the angle of the camera looked like it. She
Wow.
was nowhere near me. But anyway,
Wow.
the one. So I don't know. Let's see. So many. Crash was one of. Crash won
Crash.
the Oscar.
Yes,
That was a
that's the
whole
one.
different film of its genre. No one had seen anything like Crash.
I know. You know, 20 years before I did Crash, I had a child when I was in New York, and I looked for a private school for him to go to when he was 2, and there was no private school with people of color. So I said, this is not going to work for me. So I started a private school in New York called Sunshine Circle. Met with this bishop. He had I got a space in an area of New York that was really rough. It was on 125th Street and Park Avenue. At that time, it was crack haven. I don't even know if crack was around then, but it was drug haven.
It was on its way.
It was on its way, and the women, there was more heroin, and I found this building because it was a place I could afford, and I got a friend of mine to come and do this with me, Karen Baxter. I said, Karen, I want to start this school. Please come and do this with me, because 2 is greater than 1. We know this. So anyway, we went to this minister. He said, okay. He gave me $600. He gave us $600. He wanted to just see. I didn't know that, but he just wanted to see what we were going to do. And when he saw that we were really serious, we had this school. It was really great. I started on a Montessori method with learning is circular. I don't think you can just learn one thing in math. You can learn music and math. You can learn math and art.
Right.
Just, so learning is
I wish
circular.
I had been in your school.
I know, it was
'cause
great,
I-
and
math
that's
never-
a school I started. So
Yeah.
anyway, he saw we were serious, and he gave us a brownstone in the back of his church. He gave us. I mean, he didn't give it to us to own.
Yeah,
but he gave it to us to
yeah.
use,
Right.
and that's where we started our Sunshine Circle. So. I didn't know when I was on that elevator, the first school we were in that building before we got the brownstone, and we were on the 3rd floor, and on the 3rd floor was a methadone clinic. And I watched the women in that elevator, on that elevator, I think we were there for about 6 months, every day, up and down on that elevator. I watched their behavior, I watched everything. So when my manager called me and said, you got an audition for Crash, I read that role and I said, I know this lady backwards and forwards.
Is that amazing?
That was 20
20
years
years
ago.
ago.
I
Is
didn't
that
know that I was doing
amazing?
research for this character. I went
Well,
to the
God
thrift
did.
store. I bought all the wardrobe myself.
Because you saw it for.
I saw her. I knew her.
6
I
months.
went to the audition. I had auditioned 3 times for that role, but I got it. And the director said, Paul Haggis said to my manager, tell her to wear the clothes she wore for the audition,
oh.
which you picked out.
which I picked out.
Is that beautiful?
Yeah.
So you never know in life.
You never know.
never know in terms of where you're thinking, well, I'm over here. What does that have to do with the school? But you gave back.
I know.
And
I
God
had no
gave
idea.
you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
Beverly, that's amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
And with the bucket list, again, here was Morgan, who I had worked with twice before in a
Lean on
stage
Me.
play, Lean on Me, the film, but we also did a 2-character play called Getting It Together that was written by a brilliant writer in New York called Richard Wesley. It's a 2-character play beautiful play. We use
What was the play about? What was
all the love in love with you. That was our theme song. It was a love story between a husband and a wife who couldn't get along, but they loved
but
each
they loved
other.
each
So you
other.
saw the struggle and
Well,
all of that.
I saw that in the relationship in the bucket list.
Yeah, I
Your
did too.
chemistry between
Yeah.
you and Morgan
Yeah, it was beautiful.
was even as separate when you guys were making telephone calls. You felt it.
Yeah,
You
good,
felt it.
good. Yeah,
But like you said, it was something you already had developed.
we had already developed.
And what kind of
Exactly.
man? He must be extraordinary.
Morgan is so unpretentious. He is
Okay.
so down to earth. He is happiest on a boat on the water. You put him there and
Happy as a clam.
happy, happy, happy. You know, yeah. He's a very nice man, and he is very still humble in spite of all the success that he has achieved. So he's a pretty unusual person and talented, as we all see.
Oh wow, boy.
Well, I did want to ask you, what advice would you have for somebody out there who's not being recognized for their talents in the industry? What advice would you tell our youth? Because most of our viewers and listeners are in the internet, so
people,
it's a little
yeah.
bit younger, and they're out there trying to break through in this industry. But a lot of times, they have the talent, they have the gifts, but they're not being recognized. What advice
Yeah,
would you
how
have
you
for
got
them?
in there. I mean,
Yeah, I think the thing that is around today that wasn't around when I was growing up is YouTube. There's the internet, and kids now today they grow up with the internet, so they know how to use it.
Yeah.
Create your own show. Create whatever you want to do. Create it yourself.
right.
Put it on YouTube. If you write your song. Put yourself on YouTube because it's about how many hits you get.
Exactly.
So since this is the world that we now live in,
It's different
I
than
didn't
when you came
have
up.
I didn't
Right.
have the internet. I didn't have all those other places for exposure. There's so many series out now. Every network on the air has series that they do, have
Right.
shows almost. So I think I think study is the most important part, in my opinion. And not only when you're in class, you also are with people who are like-minded, and you hear
agree
about
with
other
that.
shows. You hear about stuff that's going on. I know a lot of people cannot afford to study because it is expensive. It's not cheap.
Yes.
However, there are theater classes in your neighborhood. Tell your
Yeah.
pastor at your church to
Community.
start a workshop. Tell them,
Right.
the church is supposed to be there to serve the community.
I
And
love
my
that.
beef
Amen.
with a lot of these churches is they do not do that. The pastors serve themselves, and it's wrong.
Thank you.
It's about serving the people and giving the people what they need to have.
And a
You
place.
have churches, you have children in your churches, pastors, that have talent and are left out there because they have nowhere to go
Direction.
and nothing to do. They have nothing to occupy their time. And what they say, an empty mind is a devil's workshop.
Yes,
how does
it
that?
is.
How does
You
that go?
said it. You
An idle mind.
Idle mind.
Right. So we have to
Yeah.
keep our children involved and busy. So start a workshop, start a music class, start all that at your church. The schools don't do it anymore. So the pastors, all that money that you're getting from
Thank
your
you.
congregation, do something. I know some of you churches have after school programs and all that. Do more. Have shows. Create your own theater in your own church.
Yes.
Create your own young people's orchestra in your own church. Have concerts. Let them show what they've learned.
showcase.
We have to be more protective and take better care of our children. And I think that the churches have fallen down horribly in that department.
You got
and you need to
that.
pick it up, churches.
You
Come
sure
on
said-
now.
Go ahead.
Well, that is
I
good
know you weren't
advice.
planning on going there, but you know she's right.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, but
Well, we gotta get to her
we call this
comedic-
a reality radio
That's
show because
right.
this is real. This is who we
And
are.
God tells
Yeah.
us, we pray before, Lord.
Yes.
You get your
Take-
message, and
yeah.
everybody comes here planning to say one thing, and He says, I think you said it beautifully.
Yeah.
And we need to have this.
Yes.
Well, let's touch on giving back
Yes.
because you have a great heart for an amazing organization called Children Uniting Nations.
Yes.
How did
Yes.
you get-
Oh.
How did you get involved in
Yeah.
that?
I met Daphne Ziman, who started Children Uniting Nations. I know that she's been doing this Oscar party for 15 years. I think Children Uniting Nations started maybe even about 3 or 4 years before that. This is so important what she does because we say about giving back and what we're supposed to do while we're here. We're supposed to give back and help others. And she has taken this to heart. She has a foster care and at-risk program that is, I think, is the biggest in California, certainly in Los Angeles. And for all these years, she has been she has a day of the child when the children come all day long. It's usually at the Santa Monica Pier. All those rides, all the food, she opens out to them for free. So there are close to 3,000 kids that come once a year and have the time of their lives for the entire day.
Yes.
Whatever they want to do, faces painted, drawing, whatever, the rides, and Daphne makes sure that that happens, and she's been doing that for 15 years. Now, what's coming up in March, the 2nd, is her Oscar viewing party, where the funds are raised so that she's able to support these foster kids and help them out. She also, because foster kids, people need to understand, when you're a foster child, it's nothing you've done wrong. It's because your parents have done something and you are now put into the care of someone else. Sometimes those people you're put in the care of are very nice. Sometimes they are not. Sometimes you go in from the fire into the frying pan, anywhere from the frying pan into the fire. Anyway, she has started this and she raises money, and March the 2nd is her Oscar viewing party.
Now, what is an Oscar view? What do you mean?
Okay, she has screens. She has a tent erected in her backyard, and it's on the original Warner Brothers estate. There are screens erected all throughout the tent so that you sit down and eat dinner and you watch the Oscars as they're going on.
Oh.
Yeah, and in between for commercials and stuff, somebody's honored or something happens in between commercials, and then the people are sitting there eating and watching. Just like that's when I was at an Oscar viewing party, not at Daphne's. I was at an Oscar viewing party when I found out that Crash had won the Oscars.
Oh.
And I stood up and screamed like I was supposed to.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so the proceeds from that.
All
The
the proceeds
from
go
the
to
dinner
United
party
Nations.
go into Children Uniting Nations. And what's so important about it, because it pays for mentoring programs, it pays for after school programs, it pays for helps pay for her day of the child, and it gives the children, it's such a vital help to these kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother, my sister, I don't consider her foster, but my mother opened her home, and she's brought a whole another life for us. I have two nieces from her.
Okay.
It's a beautiful.
And
Yeah.
what I also found out because of Daphne's tireless work, children who are foster kids, sometimes when you've been abused, you don't sometimes learn as the way other kids do, because something happens to your brain when you've been abused like that. And there's a whole nother way that you have to learn. You can learn, but it's harder for you to learn the regular way.
It's like post-traumatic.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they have started a program specifically for kids who have been abused to help them learn in a better way. And I think it is in several schools now. And so this is also part of what Daphne has discovered, that because kids don't learn the same way, they found out a way to teach them, and it is now in other schools.
Well,
a lot of resources.
Is it
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask how she got involved? Did she come from the system, or just
no,
know
she's
people,
not.
or-
She's not from the system. It's just something that struck her heart
struck
so
her
much
heart?
so that she adopted 2 children out of the system.
Oh wow!
Two
And
girls.
We're going to have her on the show as well.
Are we
Yeah.
And we'll
really?
be able to ask her
Oh,
directly
Yes.
how she
that's
got
gonna be
involved.
beautiful. That's what Project Cuddle people who put their money where their mouths are, because
Yes.
Deborah was her name, right? Who started Project Cuddle?
Yes, Debbie
She-
Magginson.
Adopted children. It started with her.
Yes.
It started with this woman, and then that's it.
It's important, and she's a living
Oh,
example of why we're
glad
here,
she's
to help
coming
and to
on.
give back.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in my house. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more Children Uniting Nations. Now, if you want to take the opportunity right now, go find them on their website. It is childrenunitingnations.org. We'll be right back with Beverly Todd. This is Joy in my house, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
There was a day when he came in a manger as a baby. He didn't have a silver spoon, but he ruled the sun.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
a reality show where nothing is left unsaid,
And no one is insignificant who says it.
exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Ro Williams, and I would like to invite you to join GospelRhythms.com every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our show, GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio. Join us as we celebrate Christians around the world in all genres of entertainment, as well as highlight interest stories on men and women who are making a difference and impacting their community. So don't forget to tune in to GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes under R&B or watch us live on Ustream TV. We are reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is GospelRhythms.com Talk Live Radio on LATalkLive.com. We're more than just talk. We're heaven's party here on earth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who says it.
I'm joined here by my co-host and recording artist Lolita Robinson, our in-studio guest
Yes.
Beverly Todd.
Hello again.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you. Welcome back. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out and
Yeah.
coming on the show. You know, you're a busy woman, you have a busy career, and yet you're taking the time out to talk about this organization. But we wanted to also talk about when you first got put in your heart to give back. You started a school.
Yeah, what happened?
Let's
How
follow
would
up
you-
on that.
Yeah, what
I started
happened
a
there?
school called Sunshine Circle for my son. And I wasn't really, I was acting a little, but not doing a lot. I was doing more commercials than anything. But so what happened was I started this school and I made a mistake. I learned that democracy in some forms does not work.
Okay.
Because when I interviewed the parents, I said, this is what I'm starting. This is the way it is. But if you'd like to have some input, feel free to say blah, blah, blah. Wrong. The school got written up in Essence magazine because it was unique, and it was the beginning of something really wonderful. And then about maybe 6 months into the school, some of the parents decided that they wanted to take over, that they didn't like the way it was, and they wanted to
To run it
to run it
themselves.
themselves. And so I had a fight with them. And I said, you know what? I had to make a decision. I said, am I going to stay here? My husband at the time was already in California. He was working on a film. He was a director. He is a director. And I said, do I want to stay here and fight this, or do I want to go on and get back into my career?
Go ahead.
So I decided that, okay, I wish I had kept it. When you look back, hindsight now, I wish I had kept it. But at the time, I just didn't want to fight anymore. And I gave it to them. I didn't give it to them. I just said, okay, you got it. I went to New York, found an agent, and started working. Within 6 months after I left New York, the school died. Because, see, here's what people have to understand. That was in my mind's eye.
That was your vision.
That was
It
your
was
vision.
there because of my willing
There
it
you
and what
go.
I went through to
There
get
you
it.
go.
And so when you see somebody else's thing, you can't say, well, I want to take their thing. No, you go start your school.
Oh, yes.
And that's what I should have said. If you don't like it here, you can leave and go
Right.
start your school. But I didn't. I was trying to be everybody,
Trying to
la la
please
la
everybody.
la la la, done wrong. So anyway, I learned a very valuable lesson.
So if you have a vision, you stick to it, and
Yeah.
tell everybody else, go do your own thing.
Exactly.
Good for you.
Exactly. When
Right.
you start something, start it with that agreement. So that if somebody else feels that they want to, make improvements in what you have started,
What you have already
you say,
done,
hey,
yeah.
okay, that's a good idea. Go try it somewhere else.
Oh
not
yeah.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
I want
yes.
to know what happened there. Okay.
And let's talk about this organization, Children Uniting Nations.
Yes.
Let's talk about it a little bit. With
Okay.
the founder is Daphne.
Daphne Edward Simon.
Beautiful name, Daphne.
Yes.
Now, it's founded to protect the children who have no voice, whose fragile lives are being abused and lost by the millions due to uncertainties and they're out of control.
Right.
That's a
That
lot.
is your
That's a
mission
mouthful.
statement.
Yes.
That's
That
a
is your
huge
mission
It
mission
is.
statement.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot
It
to
is.
lot to back that up.
If you can
Yeah.
imagine when you're a kid, you're like, you're in a home and you're feeling safe and you got your mom and dad or just even your mom or just your dad, but they're your caregiver and then something happens with them for whatever reason and there you are homeless and you now have to be placed somewhere else. And after the foster system it works in that there is a place for children to go, but within that foster system, we have to do a lot of cleaning up as
Right,
well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Had to define what it is.
we
you
have to
know.
define what it is. We have to
Is
make
it
sure that
possible
the
to do
parents.
it, Beverly, or do you think it's just so overwhelming and so encompassing?
I
Do
think
you-
right now, I think that the whole like with everything, with a lot of things, it's just overrun. There are not enough people, not enough pay, too big a caseload, and people get worn out. And so it's like a repetition of
a vicious
stuff not
cycle.
working. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, but you're doing what you can.
You have to do what you can.
Sometimes I look at something and go, that's just too big. But God is not asking you to deliver everybody. Like Charles Stanley's son said, Andy Stanley said, one person.
Exactly.
Just deal with the one person that's in
Exactly.
your life.
Exactly.
If everybody did one person,
Exactly.
so instead of looking, you guys are doing something.
Yes.
You-
And to that point, when people take for example, when people win a lot of money and they say, I don't know what I'm going to do with all this money. I'm like, what? How can you not know what you're going to do with all that money?
There's a lot of
Give
good things
back,
you can do.
help. I mean, it's so simple to me. First thing is, I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to get a ring. I'm going to get a this. I'm going to get a that. Nobody.
What are you going to do?
Few
Yeah.
people say, I'm going to give back. I'm going to build this thing for kids. I'm going to help this person over there.
Right.
So I just think that since this is why we're here, the whole purpose is to give back. When I taught poetry at Willowbrook, there's a school in the mountains for felons. These felons were under 18. They were not even
boy.
18 yet.
Okay.
17 and
Juveniles,
under.
yes.
And they're there they had to commit each of them were felons. And I looked at these kids and I had them write poetry about why they were there or poetry just about their life or whatever. Each one of them in different words said, when I get here, I don't ever mean to come back, but then I get back home with my homies, then I start doing the same thing I used to do, and then the next thing I know, I'm back out there, and then I'm back here. All of them were saying that. And that the first thing that it's still in my head when I make a ton of money, I would like to start a village for kids who can't go home because home is where they get into trouble.
Yes.
So they need another home so they can grow up, have their education, go to school, higher learning, and become citizens to help other people. That's my big dream.
That's your big
Wow,
dream.
that's
Yeah.
impressive.
So off stage, you have a life.
Yeah.
God has given you this platform. I believe that. He's given you your beauty, your talent to draw others in, to use the gift to help other people. So are you like the spokesperson for?
No, I'm not actually. I'm just a friend of Daphne's, and
Okay.
because I have worked with children, because I think it's so important, because what she's doing appeals so to my heart. It was just a natural friendship, first of all, and then what she was doing was just so something that I've always done. I started a workshop here in LA maybe about 15 years ago for young ladies who, because there's such self-esteem issues that we have as young girls.
Boy, and today it's really bad.
Today it's really bad, and then it was really bad.
Yeah.
And so I started this workshop on a woman by the name of Martha Tucker and myself, my aunt. And we started this workshop for kids. So I've always done something with kids. I started with Brotherhood Crusade. They had a center called the AACU, which was on Vermont. And I started a program for young kids to learn how to do theater. So there were maybe about 20 kids from the community, all community kids, all under I'd say 12.
Wow.
I had them write it, they directed it, they did the choreography, they did the staging, they did the costumes, everything. I just sort of overseed everything, and the promise was that at the end of 6 weeks, it turned out to be 8 weeks, but at the end of 6 weeks, they would be presented in performance, which is what we did. We
Wow.
presented them in a theater and performance, and it was great.
Oh, how
So
beautiful.
you've
How long did
always
you
had
do
a
that?
heart.
I've always done that.
Yeah.
You've always had a heart
Yeah.
for it.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Well, Children Uniting Nation is dedicated to reshaping the lives of at-risk foster youth through positive mentoring and academic advocacy. You can also volunteer, not just your time, but you can also volunteer and become a mentor.
Yes.
And probably
Yes.
funds
That's
too,
so
right?
important. You know, people say, well, what can I do? I don't have any money. I can't do anything. You have time. If you have time, you have a very valuable gift.
Yes.
Give your time to help these children. It's so rewarding. You know, you're talking about I want to feel better, I want to feel good, I don't feel good. Give. You're going to be
out of yourself.
amazed at how much better you'll feel.
Yes.
Yeah, get out of yourself.
I
We all
remember-
have problems. What are we going to do? Sit and feel sorry? A lot of us do. And after listen, okay, if you have to feel sorry for yourself, go ahead. Give yourself about 10, 15 minutes, an hour if you need it. And then after that, get your butt up and get busy helping somebody else.
I think helping somebody else really
It does help.
really
I remember
gratifies.
I was going through some really hard times when my youngest son was 4, and they started wanting you to VIP in the class, volunteering, and every time I did that, it just brought me out of my depression. And so that's on a smaller scale, but you're right. When you get out of you and get out and give to other people, it does something.
It does.
It really does.
Children United Nations is a registered nonprofit organization that relies on donations on individuals, corporations, and foundations for its programs. We greatly appreciate any donations of all amounts. I want you guys out there who are listening and viewing who maybe don't have the time, donate to them. Find it in your heart. These children really need you and could really use. If that's what you have to give, please. For more information, you can go to childrenunitednations.org.
How about their talent? Can they give
childrensunitednations.org.
talent too? Or
They can give talent.
Yeah.
There are, there's going to be, I am going to, with Daphne's Kids at some point, do a show.
Theater.
I was going to ask you, yeah, what happened?
Yeah,
with
I'm going to. And it just takes some time. And once I commit, I don't want to have to stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
So I have to really carve out some time that I can do this and give them the time that they need to have to develop a program, show their talent and their skills.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I want to make sure I plug this in. It is the 15th annual Oscar viewing party. It benefits Children United Nations. It is Sunday, March 2nd at the original Warner Brothers Estates in Beverly Hills. It is from 4 to midnight. For more information, if you want to talk to somebody regarding this, it is 323-944-0554, or you can visit childrenunitednations.org. Norma's correcting me on something, so please visit the website. Please visit the website for more information. I always like to ask this of our guests and audience. I had a couple questions for you, but the premise of the show is joy in my house and finding the joy no matter what circumstances we're in. So we always like to ask, Beverly, what does joy in my house mean to you in this day and age?
It means that you found some way to find some inner peace somewhere, and that you can celebrate even when you're feeling bad or feeling not so happy, that you can find a place that's tucked in there in all of us that you can rely on and call on and go to. And you know what I say every morning when I wake up, and I don't care how I'm feeling, it always brings a smile on my face. Thank you, God, for my joy and happiness no matter what.
Wow.
No matter what.
Thank you. Well,
Yes.
see, okay.
Very well said.
Yes.
Beverly Todd, we'd
Thank
like to
you.
thank you for
Thank
coming
you
on the
so
show.
much. Thank
It was an
you. Learned a
amazing,
lot.
amazing show and great life that you've had.
And
A very blessed life.
congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope that all of you out there listening and viewing got the opportunity to listen to the show. If not, I want you to catch the recap. Follow us on Facebook /JoyInMyHouse. You can tweet us directly on Twitter.com/JoyInMyHouse. You can also find all of our archive shows here on LATalkLive.com. Just click on shows, Joy in My House, and all of our shows are archived.
And what about next week, Mike?
Next week, don't forget to miss. Next week, we have R.G. Robinson. He's going to be speaking on the influence rap music has had today. He is from Street Fellas Industries. You're not going to want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you guys to have a blessed day.
Go
have a great
Seahawks.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh,
I'm feeling alone, afraid. I need a friend. Sometimes a mother